Stephanie, Prince Harry.
Ooh.
A great day for truth.
Yeah, he says he's feeling like he's been vindicated, feeling like it's been affirming for him. As we know, Prince Harry's been on this crusade against the media. To be honest, I think it goes deeper than this phone hacking. I think he's always blamed the media for the cause of his mother's death. So I think for him, it is about getting revenge. And he's had this judge who's ruled that 15 of the 33 articles he complains about were unlawful. The information that how it was gathered through unlawful means. Obviously, Piers Morgan's come out and said he knew nothing about the phone hacking.
He was, however, the editor of
at
Mirror.
the time, so I don't know how that happened. But Prince Harry was seeking millions and he was only rewarded £140,000. So there is questions now, is there going to be criminal proceedings that are going to follow, which I think Prince Harry will want, but it's much harder to prove. You're going to need that evidence in a court.
See, that's what I feel. I don't know what you think, Nikki. That's what I feel is so unfair about this whole thing. That the onus is on you, Prince Harry in this case, to prove he was hacked. How can you prove something that was done secretly against you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that you couldn't even have been aware of at the time?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so damning, isn't it? Because we had the Leveson inquiry that was meant to tackle all the phone hacking previously, and it feels like nothing's really changed.
No.
I mean, I imagine it still goes on now, actually. I'll be really honest.
Some of the hacking was going on during the Leveson inquiry.
Yes, which is...
That's what this judge found.
Yeah, it's just absolutely bonkers. And, you know, I do feel sorry for Prince Harry in this regard because his whole life has been lived, you know, under a lens from being a very little boy, you know. He's never had, like, peace and quiet, really.
Yeah.
And so you kind of can't blame him for moving to Sausalito. Well, it's a very nice place to live, by the way, as well. But, I mean, you sort of can't blame him for wanting to move on from that. And I actually credit to him for standing up in court and doing that.
It's very brave.
It actually is very brave, because he knew that he was going to get a load of backlash for that.
Do you think this will change public opinion of Harry? Because, you know, it still doesn't take away from the fact that he has trashed his own family very publicly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know necessarily. I mean, I think the kind of thorn in his side is Meghan, really, because people really have a distaste for her and how she goes about things. I mean, I think Harry could come back into the fold. I think the British people would welcome him back, but I think he'd have to be divorced, probably.
I think he's done too much damage. I think it's gone too far with Harry and his kind of attacks against his own family and him and Meghan. I think it's like he's left a bitter taste in the public's mouth, and I just think...
Piers Morgan, obviously, wasn't going to say, terribly sorry I hacked you or anything like that. So he came out yesterday and he just tried to turn it... Yes, the whole court case was about whether or not appalling behaviour was used by the press, particularly unlawful behaviour. And that was proven. And you can't get away from that. But Piers Morgan chose to just sort of make it about Harry and the bad way he treated his own family. This is what Piers Morgan had to say about the whole thing.
The judgment finds there is just one article relating to the Prince, published in the Daily Mirror during my entire 9-year tenure as editor, that he thinks may have involved some unlawful information gathering. To be clear, I had then, and still have, zero knowledge of how that particular story was gathered. All his other claims against the Daily Mirror, under my editorship, were rejected. With regard to the judge's other references to me in his judgment, I also want to reiterate, as I've consistently said for many years now, I've never hacked a phone or told anybody else to hack a phone. And nobody has produced any actual evidence to prove that I did.
Yeah, well, you can believe that if you want to, I suppose.
I mean, one interesting point about this as well, though, is that he was never called to give evidence. Not from either side.
Yeah.
He's probably quite annoyed about that, because he probably would have liked to stay.
I think he would have done. And I mean, what you saw there is a typical Piers response. You didn't expect him to be a shrinking violet about all this.
But he's also kind of laying down the gauntlet, because if I knew that he did hack something or knew about hacking, well, I'd leak it to the press now. I mean, I don't. But if anyone's out there and can, you know, quite fun to see.
But I do think Harry, in a way, he has changed the media landscape. As you guys know, I work for newspapers now, and he has so many cases coming against the Sun, the Mail, and now journalists are under pressure to prove, how did you get that story? Who are your sources? So, if anything, Harry is changing the media landscape.
And that's why yesterday was so important. Because, frankly, no matter how much Mirror said it was nothing to do with hacking, we've never hacked, the judge found they had. And that's the most important thing,
and
really,
the amount
isn't
of
it?
money they've had to pay, over £100 million. They've had to get rid of 450 journalists, which they're trying to say is down to circulation, but it's because they're paying for court cases places like this. So Harry is getting his wish and he is destroying the media, especially newspapers.
Well, he's destroying bad practices within the newspapers.
Yeah.
I hope he isn't destroying the newspapers.